Okay, I'm starting. Hey guys,
Praise be
welcome
the
back.
sun.
What the fuck is wrong with you? I said I was starting.
Yeah, it already started talking. I'm done now.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Emma, and we are playing the vampire game. I was talking about finally putting something like this together, and here we are. It's a little thrown together. We're gonna play on Google Hangouts, and then we have the little like type bar on the right so you can see us roll. Um, this is not a formal module. This is something that Merlin has thrown together as the DM. So we have a lot of wiggle room, which is great, I think, and lets us really have a lot of leeway in character development. I'm going to introduce our lovely players. We have Anthony and Merlin, of course, DMing, Taylor, and Steven. I'm going to let them introduce their characters so you guys have a good grasp of what's going on. Anthony, you want to start us off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I do have a little something prepared, and I'll just go ahead and read this blurb I have. Before the fires of dissent spread amongst a people, and the first stone of revolution is cast, a whisper must spread to those with the power to speak. Augustine is that whisper. Born in early 18th century France, Augustine lived in squalor on the outskirts of Paris with other orphans. Though never a large man, Augustine managed to survive through subterfuge and deceit. Those who did not benefit his survival were cast aside when necessary. At the age of 12, Augustine managed to secure a position with a successful perfumist who served the nobility of the city. Long years of service and relative comfort under the perfumist allowed Augustine to write his way onto the top spot of the will and ownership of the store at the age of 20 after the perfumist's sudden, tragic death. Augustine took the curse of the night shortly after he gained the title of master perfumist. Expectations placed upon him didn't fit as well as the noble beasts expected, and Augustine used his new abilities to whisper secrets into the ears of the people. Slowly those whispers became cries and revolution took root. Since that time, Augustine has not been heard of or seen, but if you do enough searching, you'll find that every revolution always starts with a whisper.
Oh my shit, that was beautiful. Okay, now I feel bad about not having something formally prepared. But that
Thank you. Thank you.
you want to tell us about your virtue and your vice?
I would love to, absolutely. So the virtue that I have, or mask, if we're looking at the second edition translation, is visionary. Or I guess virtue would be visionary. The vice is social chameleon, also known as the dirge. So in the book itself, if I can find those again, where are the dirges? As far as descriptions, social chameleon basically just allows you to meld yourself to the groups that you find, right? And then the visionary fits along with my thoughts of someone who is able to incite those kinds of ideas that they want to incite in the people.
Which is super fucking awesome. So basically, vice and virtue, guys, works in the way that it kind of describes the person that you present to the public and who you are, or I guess more like your inner struggles. So it's clearly like maybe who you want to be and who you struggle not to be. I guess if that's an easier explanation. Okay, Taylor, you ready?
Sure.
1 second. So I'm just going to jump in here and grab a few more things
Okay.
just so that I can fill out my notes and we've got a little bit of a better idea of Augustine's skills. Like, what kind of things is Augustine good at? And just a sidebar here. This game, while it is mine, is going to be very spur of the moment, very like we're going to make it up as we go. Probably different than any of us have ever played. I will be asking for a lot of input from the players to help decide what happens. And so I'm looking for things that your character or you as a player are going to be interested in. So if there's anything that you've got that you want to do, want to see that your character's goal is. If you don't, totally fine. Just trying to get a little bit of information. So let's start with skills. What would you say Augustine's best skills are as far as what is he going to be doing?
I think Augustine's best skills would be the use of language and turning people against each other in order to gain what he wants. I don't think that Augustine has a specific goal. I don't know enough about this world yet to know in this city what Augustine's goal is. But traditionally, Augustine has seen, I think, been sympathetic to the plight of humans and those that are not necessarily in power, and also upset with, or I guess frustrated with, those in power, in the sense that I don't know if this is true, but I'm assuming in a world populated with vampires, there's some amount of vampiric, I guess, persuasion, right, or vampiric rule that exists within cities kind of behind the scene, right? And so I think Augustine knows that exists now, and coming from a period in history where he grew up very poor and then only managed to find his way into the noble class, right, saw those vampires and said, why did you do this, right? And so I think is rebelling against that. Not necessarily, it could be for his own gains that I'm unsure of, but that's kind of the direction. So yeah, those skills are very much language oriented and persuasion oriented, right? Persuasion, subterfuge, stealth, right? Not necessarily capable as far as a fighter, but able to, say what he needs to say and then hide in plain sight, right?
All right. That is perfect. What do you think would be like the cons of this character? Things that are going to be their weakness, what's going to cause them to have issues within the story?
I think physical challenges are definitely going to be problematic for Augustine, despite years of history and being a vampire. I think if he finds himself against a much stronger vampire, as far as just physical prowess, he's not going to be able to do very well. As well as I think there's some degree of, if he is not careful with who he throws under the bus, right, for lack of a better, I guess, descriptor, right? If he's not extremely careful with that, it could prove to be very problematic if he doesn't do it in the right way, right?
He has to play the game real well.
Yeah, so though it is a skill, right, it could also be a very big detriment to him. So I think those would be kind of the biggest problems, right? Not playing the game well and those physical challenges.
Okay, perfect. All right, now we can move on to Taylor again. Sorry.
Yeah, good
No
to
worries.
Taylor.
My character is Kara Weber. She is a human. She's 22. And she's kind of just a normal girl who's kind of been stuck in a dead-end job at a grocery store for a few years. And she apparently just found out that she's somehow important to vampires, and they're going to protect her, and she didn't have much of a choice in the matter.
With that, just to explain that to the people that are going to be listening, we had a session before this where we were getting the human characters into the vampire world. TLDR, there is a unknown vampire.
I have the
who,
write-up.
Yeah, you've got the write-up. Okay, so Kara, the character, is a touchstone of another vampire, but she is unaware of it. And so that will come into play throughout the story. Back to you.
Her virtue is conscientiousness, which means she is a hard worker, and her vice is curiosity, and I expect that to get her into lots of trouble because she can't help herself but to find out what's happening.
Virtue is conscientiousness?
Yes.
All right, that's fun to spell.
You can just put hardworking. It means the same thing.
I just used spell check. Close enough. Computer does the work for you.
And her strengths are in stealth and resisting magical influence, and somewhat in perception.
Yep, I have that down, as well as in the last game. The reason for some of this is Kara is a vampire attack survivor.
Yes, she... I think that's part of how you found out where I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was saved from an attack by Emma's character and the NPC Aiden, and then woke up in the hospital. So she remembers hearing spooky sounds. There was the vampire who attacked her spoke a strange language and had scary, was it solid gray eyes?
Something like that. They were like glossed over and milky, I think. But I'll recap next session after we do everyone's player introductions, so they know what I'm talking about when I recap.
Yeah, I feel like we'll do the recap. It's just nice to bring a little bit of the information as we're going through the characters so that it's here at the front.
Did I miss anything you need to know?
Nope, that's pretty much everything that I've got. Goals that you've got for you and or your character is the only thing. And if you don't have any, again, that's fine. It's still early on.
Well, my character wants to not have a shitty life anymore, and I want her to be a cool super spy eventually.
Cool super spy.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I feel like your vamp friends can make that happen.
Her what?
Vamp friends.
That is okay.
I don't think they're my friends yet, but, you know.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Maybe.
I was gonna say, with your character, maybe.
That's why I inserted the maybe.
All right. That drops us down to
Steven!
Steven.
Oh, hello. My character is Lamont Sanford, and he's kind of not a good influence on the community. He's human, not a vampire, and recently fell into some trouble when he was taking care of the local girl that worked at his grocery store. He was introduced to a world he is unfamiliar with and is way above his head. He is a small-time drug dealer with a lot of connections and very bad crowds. He's committed larceny since he was young and has never really known any other way to go about life. And he's found somebody who is interested in his skills and sees it as a good way to get paid, but he is also scared for his life because he never believed vampires were real, and suddenly there's a whole pack of them.
Yeah.
So that's about all I have to say about Lamont.
All right.
I guess I should go over his virtue and vice.
Yes.
His virtue is loyalty. Lamont doesn't have a lot of friends, but the friends he does make, he's very loyal to, almost to a fault. And his vice is greed. He wants to make money. He's always wanted to make money, and it's kind of what his world revolves around. So these two things are often at odds, and it forces him to make some decisions, and usually he doesn't make the right one. So.
All right. At goals for your character. What do you want to see? What does he want to see? What do you want to see?
He wants to gain more influence within the drug community. That is kind of his big concern. He wants to learn more about how his new benefactor can help him and do work for him. And he wants to make sure that the nice lady who took care of him at the grocery store is safe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. I like that one. That's one I can fuck with.
Oh, that's mean.
So in my notes, I have under here that Lamont is a criminal savant.
That is true. He, in terms of mechanics, he's level 5 larcenist,
So
and particularly good at breaking and entering. He's real good at getting in places he's not supposed to be.
So
how he got his start, and he's been developing that skill his whole life.
so far we've got a revolutionary, a criminal, and a grocer.
Yep.
Solid
Yeah.
team makeup. I think we are definitely going down the stealth and in the shadows gameplay from the looking at the group so far. And now, I think that's all I need. That is going to be Kara Weber and Lamont Sanford for our chat there.
That's amazing. And guys, feel free to use the chat as much as you want to, even if you want to like ambiently RP in the background, like have at it.
Run wild and free.
Okay, I think that just leaves me.
Yep.
I am playing a character named Belathine. She is about like a 154-year-old vampire. She is of Clan Deva. She was formerly Isabel Tite, daughter of the architect William Tite, which is actually a real person. She is tied to the main NPC that we're working with. Merlin's going to go ahead and kind of play a character to kind of serve as our base of operations guy. She is standoffish, very old Victorian, posh, kind of conceited, definitely skill set centered around manipulation and seduction. I know we've talked about her on the channel occasionally. I know we've looked at the character sheet and we've talked about a previous game where I reprised her, and the hack it, fuck it, or kill it, I think was the terminology, and you guys know where I am in that spectrum. So here she is again. Her virtue is courtesan. That's one of the ones you can pick out of the book. It just means that she's sort of appealing to the sensibilities of others in a more sexual, gratifying way. And her vice is cult leader, because she has attention neediness problems, and so she often gathers individuals about her who listen to her, who adore her, and kind of, I guess, work her magic on the masses and have like that little fan base. As far as her goals are concerned, I don't think she's too terribly ambitious, other than staying relevant in a way that meets her attention-seeking needs, and staying with that main NPC, Aiden, who is sort of her, I guess partner's a good word for that, would you say?
Oliver Joyce.
Yeah. They've been traveling together for the past 150 years, just about. But we'll get more into backstory, like legitimate backstory, when it comes to be a part of the actual storyline. You need anything else from me?
Mask and Dirge.
I gave you that already.
Over that one more time for me.
Courtesan and cult leader.
Courtesan, that is right.
So we're just kind of playing this the way that we would normally play it if you guys weren't watching. So we're going to be going back and forth. We're going to be looking shit up in the book. We're going to be working things out between each other. So y'all are just kind of along for the ride. And I hope that you enjoy it.
This is my first, I guess, second time actually really DMing this system. So we are going to be getting things wrong a lot. We're going to be getting things right sometimes. And I will be making it up when it takes too long to figure it out. Feel free to yell at me for getting anything wrong in the rules if you happen to know this system better than I do, because it's going to happen. But we're going to try and have a good time.
Yep, we're going to have a good time regardless. Because we usually play D&D, and well, at least I do. And so I'm familiar with that rule set, but not with Vampire the Masquerade. Actually, we're playing Requiem, aren't we?
Well, we are both.
It's kind of a mishmash.
Yeah, so typically most people stick to just one game, whether it's vampire or werewolf or mage or Prometheus or whatever they are. But we're doing Chronicles of Darkness, the core book, which is mostly just like, you're human, shit goes wrong, you find out that shit sucks. Vampires are hunting you, werewolves are in your backyard, run. and then we're mixing that with you're also a vampire, and we have to kind of like make them work. And making vampires get along with humans is not the easiest thing in the world.
No. Oh, I should do the synopsis before we start.
Mm.
Okay, so we did play one session in April. No, this is April now.
Yeah.
In February. Yeah, because I've got the date in the corner.
Good job. GG.
I'm great. Okay, so the really quick, dirty TLDR. So Aiden and Belle, we started off the game with the two vampires because we had this set up in a specific way to facilitate the narrative, basically. So Aiden and Belle are hunting this vampire. They follow him into a nightclub / bar because they'd been tailing him. So they followed him outside because he took a human. They saw him like walking along with a human outside of the bar, and so they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta go see what this dude is up to." And so they actually find him again right before he was about to stab said human, but we're able to interfere. Of note, he has those weird voodoo eyes. It's what I have them as in my notes. But they're kind of like milky and clouded over, which is kind of strange for vampires. And he's speaking in Haitian. So Aiden takes the girl back to the bar, and we just kind of leave her there. We decide not to kill her because there's already kind of too much of a scene. We don't want that on our hands. Because normally, okay, so there's certain tenets in vampire society, 3 of which. The first one is really of note right now, which is like preserve the secret of vampire society. It's like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. And so that's why we would want to kind of cover our tracks to make sure that it doesn't look like there's been a vampire attack here, because that would prompt questions. So then we switch to our human compatriots. Lamont and Kara are in the hospital. Lamont is visiting Kara in the hospital. We find out that Kara was the human that this voodoo vampire was attacking. Lamont ends up signing her out of the hospital and then goes back with her to her place to kind of keep an eye on her because she ends up having a concussion, and you're not supposed to like be by yourself. So Aiden tracks Lamont down after the fact and convinces him to visit with Kara because Aiden and Belle have a vampire that shows up at their place and is like, "You realize who that girl is, right?" And we're like, no, we really don't. And she ends up being a touchstone of somebody who wants her to remain his touchstone, or her touchstone. I honestly don't know who the vampire is. And so, because the attack happened on our turf, we are responsible for not only finding this vampire who's running amok, which is kind of what we were trying to do in the first place, but also keeping his touchstone safe. So basically what a touchstone is, when vampires take the embrace, which is, when they become vampires, it's the fancy wording for it, there's usually something that grounds them to their life beforehand. It retains their humanity, reminds them to be mindful of that individual, that thing, which prompts whatever memories. Each vampire has a touchstone. My touchstone, Belle's touchstone, for instance, is Aiden, because she knew Aiden before she got turned. And he's what keeps her grounded. And so, in some way, shape, or form, Kara is the touchstone for another vampire. And so, we have to keep her safe, because when you lose a touchstone, it's a very, very traumatic event. And you have a kind of like a humanity bar, and the more you lose humanity, clearly, the more of a monster you become. So we've been tasked with keeping her safe. So Aiden does convince Kara to come back to the club with us. Aiden and Belle run a nightclub called Velvet Death. It's an old Victorian, well, it's kind of a mod Victorian place. It's Gothic modern, I think is what I have written here. And it's all in black and velvet with gilding on it. And they only serve red wine, and you're kind of at a loss as to whether what you're drinking is red wine or blood. But that's kind of the appeal to both a vampire audience and a human audience. So there are humans there, so it's not just like an exclusive vampire locale. So we take them back. There's like housing up above the club. I think it's in a warehouse district, if I'm correct. Yeah. And so Lamont comes with her. So she feels more comfortable, and he's kind of already entangled in this mess, and he kind of already knows now they're vampires, so he gets roped into the fun. Probably a little against his better senses. So both of our human friends are introduced to vampire culture. It's revealed that it's safest here since Kara's in danger, so the character does know that at least she's in danger. I'm not sure we touched on the touchstone part, though. I don't think she explained that, or Belle explained that to Kara.
No, that was not explained.
Okay, good. I don't think she's supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, player knows, character does not know.
Perfect, yeah. And you'll see us talking about a lot of stuff that we know out of character or OC, and then like pretending like we don't know in character. It's a very common like D&D tabletop thing. So we're still unsure what kind of vampire is in play here, because this voodoo-eyed Haitian-speaking vampire is not
Clarification of the Haitian. It's a Creole. It's a different dialect of French Creole.
Ah, okay. And that's kind of where we are. We've kind of got them settled into the club, and what we need to do is we need to figure out who this vampire is. We have to hunt him down, because not only has he been killing people in our territory, and that puts at risk, the first tenet of vampire law, but it's kind of our bad, since Aiden happens to be the vampire authority in the area. They've got a hierarchy, and he is, I don't know, the word's not sheriff, but it's like how mafias divide their territory up into little segments. This is his territory, and no worries. So yeah, that's where we are. We've got to find this dude, and we've got to keep Kara safe. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of shenanigans on the way. And now I think actually we need to pick up Augustine, correct?
Yes, so this is going to come back to character development. One of the things that I wanted to do, Anthony, is each of the characters needs to know at least one of the other characters. And that was one of the problems we ran into trying to get the vampires and the humans together. Was how do you make them know each other? Mm-hmm. So we have bridged that gap. They are now entwined in whatever this is. So Augustine should know Augustine. I will get this right. I can do this. I'm an adult. Augustine should know either Belathine or Aiden, the main NPC, unless you just want to be roped in via being a contractor or something. But whatever you think you want, and I can give you some more information on Aiden to help you make that decision if you want.
Probably makes the most sense for Augustine to know Aiden if Aiden is a sheriff of this local area, right? I don't know. I'm assuming Augustine has been in, because we're in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, we were going to be playing in New Orleans.
I'm assuming Augustine has been in New Orleans for at least a little bit of time
okay.
now, and so I think has done scoping to find out who rules each particular section.
Yeah.
And so I think has met Aiden once
or
twice.
He's a special character. So what faction is Augustine with?
Augustine is, as far as the factions, with the Carthians.
With the Carthians. Okay, so here is Aiden. Aiden is older, but where most vampires would become powerful and strong and intimidating, he has spent the last 600-700 years getting as high as vampirely possible. He is a hot mess. He, merchant noble, youngest of noble family, wasn't going to get anything, ran off, did his own thing, blah, blah, blah. None of that matters. Right now, he is very rich. Doesn't really, at the surface, seem to know what he's doing with it. To give you an idea, his mask is junky. So everybody that meets him just thinks that all he's trying to do is get high. His dirge is deviant. He is always doing hood rat shit. To give you an idea, he is part of the Invictus, decent amount of status with the Invictus. However, he also likes the Carthians, and so occasionally will do things like trick his people into breaking into a warehouse under false pretenses where he just happened to stumble across giant crates of weapons that just happened to be owned by Invictus, and then they go missing, and all of a sudden the Carthians have a lot more weaponry.
We should explain the different covenants.
Okay, do you want to go through that?
I can try. Okay, so the Carthians, there's a bunch of different ones, but we're just going to focus on the Carthians and Invictus right now because those are the ones that we're involved with currently. If we come across the others, we'll explain. So, Invictus is kind of like the powers that be. Invictus is the most... I think there are the most people in Invictus out of all the other ones. They keep the status quo. They ensure that power stays where it is, which is with Invictus, and that they keep the hierarchy in place, which kind of serves because it provides structure. They're kind of more, they're old money, old blood, old power. They're very much old stodgy white dudes, if you want to put it like that. Clearly not all of them are white dudes, but it's very much that almost Illuminati elite puppet strings that's governing the rest of vampire society. And then you have the Carthian movement, which is mostly about exposing vampire society to humankind so that we can live together. Not necessarily peacefully, which is the misconception there that I had to discover when reading the book. They are absolutely wanting to still be the superior beings there. They just don't want to have to hide it. They want to come out effectively, and that's going to cause chaos, and they're cool with that. They just don't want to have to be under the thumb of Invictus anymore. They want to be able to do what they want, how they want, and it's kind of freedom fightery, but without the moral undertones, if that makes sense. That's the impression of the Carthians, at least, that I've got. Because I was definitely, oh yeah, totally, freedom fightery. And then I read the excerpt on it, and I was like, ooh, this was not as morally upright as I thought.
And that's going to change depending on who's doing what within the Carthians.
Right.
So that's a pretty good TLDR of both the factions that Aiden plays around with.
Yes.
He is in public and Invictus, but also likes to help the Carthians because fuck the system.
He likes to stir the pot.
He loves to stir the pot, and so it would not be surprising for Aiden to have some Carthian friends, because he is more than willing to fund uprisings or rebel outbreaks or whatever needs to be done just for shits and giggles.
I feel like when you're an older vampire, you just get bored, and sometimes you need to...
Sometimes you need to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
So it could be that Augustine knows Aiden in the way that they have worked together or they've met a couple of times, whatever you think is best. Unless you want to have ties to any of the other characters.
I think Aiden makes the most sense. It's the easiest. I don't think I would have known Belathine or any of the two humans who just recently hopped in here.
Right.
I think there's probably just a few contacts. I do not think that Aiden and Augustine are very close at all, but they know each other. There's probably a contact, right? Augustine is a contact for Aiden in the Carthians, right?
I like it.
Yeah.
So then...
no more than that. So very, surface level.
Yeah, so then, nice and easy, Aiden's really irritated. We'll make this super simple. It is way more difficult to go and find this vampire that he is trying to hunt than he really wants to put effort into. And so he is going to start reaching out to different contacts, and you get a message on whatever platform or way that would be delivered to you that's like, hey, I could use some help. It pays. Whatever you need, meet up at Velvet Death.
Yeah, I would imagine there's probably a drop somewhere a drop
Right.
where you can leave a note or a letter, right? And rather than if you're trying to send a message without leaving a trace, especially in
Right.
the age of digital technology, I think that vampires are pretty quick to recognize that. So
Mhm.
Augustine definitely checks his drops, right? Kind of a weekly visit to the different
Mhm.
drop locations, sees what he can find, notices the note, and I think we'll definitely make a beeline within the next few days to the club
Fantastic.
to make a meeting with Aiden.
So
Confirms, right?
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah.
Done.
Perfect.
All right. So we've got the synopsis, we've gone through characters, we've gone through relationships. Now we can start. So is everybody here? Has Steven gotten back?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to just start this off. All of you are in one of the early evening. The club has not started accepting patrons yet, and you're all sitting around one of the big tables discussing how you're going to go about finding this vampire. Augustine, you've been here for a little bit, and you've been filled in on what's going on. And we're just going to jump scene right into discussions amongst characters. Aiden is currently sitting at the table. He's kind of lavishly dressed in what he would consider his pajamas, but he's got silken red pajamas with a big black robe over it, stitched and inlaid with gold. And he's sitting back with a pipe and a glass of wine.
Is it
The pipe is
blood or is
not
it wine?
lit. No, it looks like a glass of wine. It is a glass of blood.
Okay.
As the style is everything for Aiden. The pipe has nothing in it. It's just there to look. There's no light. There's no flames. There's no smoke. He's just got it dangling in his mouth.
He's about that aesthetic.
And there
Aiden,
are. Go ahead.
Aiden, I'm surprised that you wouldn't have had more information by now. I'm usually so used to, from short time we've known each other, you to have something else, some other whisper for me to follow. Seems that you have nothing. What is this strange turn? Are you losing touch?
Aiden just kind of like rubs his brows, points his finger at you. Well, if we're being honest, it's been a hard couple of days. And he just kind of like looks around like he's trying to come up with an excuse, but just nothing's coming to him, and he just kind of continues the point, smiles and nods, and then goes back to drinking.
Augustine would find a glass of blood sit next to him at his right as Belethine glides around the other end of the table and sits down next to Aiden. She looks annoyed, but it looks like that annoyance is directed at her other half. She sits down, puts her elbows on the table, threads her fingers together, and uses it to support her chin. I wish we could offer you more information, but seeing as these vampires are somewhat new, there is not much to report back on them. We've had trouble hunting them down, and when we have hunted them down, they seem rather immune to most of our means of persuasion. She seems additionally irritated at revealing that last bit of information.
What about these two? Augustine will point kind of haphazardly to the two humans, right? Kara and Lamont.
Mm-hmm.
Can't we perhaps pry information from them? They might have seen something that they don't wish to remember, but perhaps a little bit of delving might give us something that we could use.
Kara's eyes go wide.
Oh no.
Oh, what
Excuse
is
me?
it? You look scared.
What?
Is there a problem?
What does that mean?
Mean whatever you can imagine, but we have ways.
Aiden pipes in. They typically include scalpels and rough sandpaper, acid baths,
That's garish, Aiden.
Belathine nods, rolling her eyes.
Hey, don't take the good days away from me.
I thought you were supposed to be protecting me.
I wasn't gonna let him do it. But you asked.
I thought in the past, Aiden, that you had a bit more of a relaxed bit of a policy as far as protection. Surely, as long as they're alive, even a touchdown.
Modern age, my friend. Things have changed, and we must change with it. But Lamont here is got some good information as far as... Well, not information. He's going to be good at getting us information.
Poor Lamont.
And Aiden just kind of smiles at Lamont and just like waves and just tosses some money on the table at him.
Lamont looks at the money and like begins to wonder like what he's gotten himself into. Now, of course, he didn't before, but he does now. It took him too long to get to this conclusion. But he picks up the money and he pockets it and he says, "Whatever you need, boss."
I like this one. It says, little birdie says that you can break into almost anything, Lamont.
You know, I can get where I need to go.
Good, because you need to get back into that bar.
Belathine looks confused. Why would we go back to the bar?
Think about it. The place where the crime took place. It's been shut down since. He looks around at everybody, and we're going to break in.
That's very strange.
Over-dramatizing everything. He's just kind of sitting there waiting for everybody to be in awe of this idea.
He's just trying to play mystery, man.
There's just a big sigh.
I feel like Belathine
No words.
and Augustine are going to get along well.
Takes a sip from his blood wine.
Why was the bar closed?
Well, I shut it down.
You shut it down.
Yes.
So,
After
if you had the power to shut it down, why do we need to break in?
Because I don't own the bar. I just made a favor, or pulled a favor, had somebody shut down the bar because I have thought this all the way through. There's evidence in the bar, and if people were to come around and mess up everything, it would make it harder for us to look around. So, the bar is shut down for a couple of days for routine maintenance.
well, that's something good that you've done.
He looks around the room at this entire bar that he has put together and all of the wait staff, like, come now.
Belathine interjects immediately. You cannot take credit for this. For none of it. Other than, perhaps, financing it. But the artistic vision is my own.
To
Well-
your credit, Aiden, you do add charm.
There we go. I like it. It kind of smiles and leans back. This is how I'm supposed to be treated.
So Aiden's like this picture of this spoiled rich kid who he wants everyone to pretend along with his little fantasies of who he is and the power he represents.
That is,
I mean, Kara's pretty in awe still. She hasn't learned the truth yet.
Oh my goodness.
but Aiden continues and he says, we didn't have a lot of time to examine the crime scene, so we need to get back there, search around it, maybe we can come up with something, and by we, I mean, and he waves his hands out, you good people.
You couldn't have sent O'Malley.
Who's going to protect the bar?
Artois?
You're going to have the cook
Isn't he human?
in the bar.
She seems upset. She just wanted somebody else to do it.
He calls after Artois, who is
Oh no, don't
the
get me in
chef,
trouble.
who is the chef of the establishment, who walks
He is
out,
human.
very robust, spinning mustache, angry Frenchman stomping out of the kitchen, demanding to know why he is being pulled away from his creations. And Aiden says, well, Belathine has offered your services in breaking and entering.
She looks apologetically towards perhaps like her only like genuine friend in the like establishment. She dips her head in apology and she murmurs as much in broken French.
Aiden then continues and says, but then she decided that you could protect the tavern, or the restaurant, the bar, it is a bar, while O'Malley does it. So you would be the physical protection.
Have you not seen him brandish a ladle before? Or have you interrupted him during the precise baking of a souffle?
Artois looks over at Belathine, a little just hurt.
She paid him a compliment. She's saying he's a badass if you fuck with his shit.
Is Artois a human?
Yes,
he
Artois is a human. He is one of the few humans that knows the secret.
Right. So there are a few human employees of the Velvet Death. They are human, maybe like a handful of them, but most people are vampires.
Okay.
But it's difficult to cater to humans because vampires don't necessarily have very accurate taste buds anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so the chef kind of necessitates a human touch.
Gotcha.
Artois then spins around and stomps back to the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And Aiden smiles off towards Belathine with a very shit-eating "I told you so."
That's all right, dear. We all need to get our hands dirty once in a while. It'll be fine. We'll just look.
She does not look like the type of person who often dirties her hands. But what she has been doing, though, is running the place. And Augustine would have gotten a feel for that because she was definitely the individual who served everyone. You would note that the blood wine, it's blood, but it's still cultivated like a wine. The way that they do it here is they kind of farm humans. So different countries will literally like feed their humans nothing but oranges and cloves. And so when they bleed them, they taste really nice and like specific I don't know, flavor profiles.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a wine bar. It's just a blood wine bar. They do have normal wine because there is like mixed patronage, but it's
No, it's good. That's very good.
Okay. Belathine will go ahead and with a sigh and another roll of her eyes, perhaps even a dismissive flick of her wrist, will acquiesce to the fact that firstly, she probably needs to go change into something less posh, something that's more fitting to infiltrate a close bar.
Aiden has thought of this. And so is Belathine going off to her room to change?
Yes, because she doesn't have a crime cashmere.
Yes, Aiden has his crime outfits. There is a package on Belathine's bed waiting for her.
What? What does it look like?
From Aiden. It is a box with a bow on top.
What color is the bow? Is it a big box?
It's a decent sized box, about that size of an outfit.
But that's vague. Like, you can fold outfits up into a small...
It is vague. I mean, if you want to see the exact dimensions?
No, fine, fuck. She opens the box.
There is a note from Aiden. It has a heart, and I knew you needed a crime outfit.
No.
And inside is a skin-tight black leather Catwoman outfit minus
The Catwoman memorabilia.
Yes.
Why have you done this? I need to roll for whether or not she's actually gonna put this on. I'm just gonna use the dice roll on my phone if it will let me.
You're not gonna just use the chat?
Oh, I can.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really not good at the rolly bit, but I will try. So it's just a roll d20, right?
/roll d20.
Yeah. There.
Since you're...
Please. Oh, fine.
So you want to explain what you're doing with this roll, because
Okay,
we're not
so-
using d20s?
When I RP, a lot of the time, if my character is conflicted about something, I'll go ahead and roll a d20 and like put 2 options, one on each end. And if I roll closer to one end, I will choose that option. If it's kind of in the middle, I kind of make a compromise between the two, but I help shape her decisions when I'm somewhat at a loss. Like, if it's clearly something in keeping with her character, I will go ahead and do that. But if it's kind of somewhat up in the air, I like to add that sort of unpredictability to her actions. It makes her a lot more fun and a lot more, I guess, real and lifelike to me. So because she got a 15, 20 was she would accept his offer, like, and be like over the moon. So she holds it up, kind of cants her head to the side and gives it a once over. She smirks slightly because she obviously understands that it's probably form-fitting for a reason. They are romantic partners, thus the heart and everything. So she goes ahead and puts that piece on. Swear to God. Are there accompanying footwear? Or...
Yeah, no, it's a full outfit.
Oh.
High heels and everything.
You can't.
That's very good. That's very good. Back at the table, if I can, while
Yeah.
Emalynde's changing. Augustine is going to, in like a quick moment, right, without really Kara and Lamont noticing, is going to be sitting next to Lamont. And Lamont in your ear is going to do a quick whisper. Your name is Lamont. It's a French name. The mountain. Are you as sturdy?
Particularly? No.
Mm.
Dad had hopes for me. Didn't really work out.
Aww.
He's like visibly cringing.
Yeah.
Somebody
Sure.
whispering in his ear.
That is the greatest.
Well, we can certainly test maybe how sturdy you can be. Anyway, Aiden has high expectations of you. I'm excited to see whether that pans out.
You said Kara wouldn't have noticed this.
Kara, you definitely noticed. You didn't notice, I think, Augustine moving. Augustine, I have an ability as far as disciplines go, which are kind of like, I guess, in D&D terms, right? It's various skills. There's celerity.
So you're
which
just
is one.
fast.
Yeah, so it like you can, it's kind of those like heightened abilities. So it's like the quickness of speed, right? So that's more so
So
where
you
I'm
just
drawing.
flash over there,
Yeah,
essentially.
kind of flash over, right? I think.
Oh,
you
man.
might have noticed, but yeah, just a quick flash, right?
Like, how into it is Augustine? Is he, like, leaned over, like, all of a sudden his head's just, like, right there?
Yeah,
next to
for sure.
Lamont's ear? Yeah.
For sure.
This is brilliant. I'm so upset I missed it.
Kara is trying really hard to hear what you're saying.
Okay, I'm not.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm not gonna wear the high heels because that's impractical, and I'm not trying to cosplay Catwoman. But she's going to put, I don't know, like I've probably got some semi-fashionable boots. Boots seem better.
Yeah, no, like, you don't have to worry too much. Like, Aiden 100% does not expect Belathine to actually wear it.
That's rude. You don't buy people. Oh, I guess people buy gag gifts. Oh, fine.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, she
So
can-
Belathine, you're back.
Yeah, she.
You're gonna come back down. Sure.
slides
I
back
think.
down.
In a leather
Augustine-
bodysuit.
Yeah, I'd like to see Belathine come back. He's gonna
Kara's
let out.
surprised by this.
Yeah, he's gonna let out
That's
a.
not normal.
Lamont takes a look at this, looks over at Aiden, and he goes, she's gonna need to change. That's not gonna work.
Oh, what do you mean, Lamont? This is wonderful.
She's gonna stick out like a sore thumb.
Aiden
Rule
opens his
number one.
eyes really wide, covers his mouth. What? You mean that's gonna stand out? No. Whatever.
Just said, Lamont isn't picking up on this sarcasm at all, and he's just gonna be like, "Yeah, rule number one of larceny is you gotta blend in." Doesn't pick up on it at all.
Very, very good. Very good.
Well,
That's amazing.
Belathine, you heard Lamont. That outfit is just too much for public. And he smiles at her.
So Belathine actually has a merit called Striking Looks. I have max bubbles in it, And
Of course.
this is really important right now because you can use it, like when you use it, it makes people pay attention to you, and you like not only garner attention, but it's kind of like a charm spell, but not quite. Everyone seems to be kind of enthralled for a little bit. But the drawback is you attract the attention in a positive way, but also the attention of people you might not want to. So this is one of those things where like you're stupid pretty, but you probably don't want to be stupid pretty right now because everyone's going to look at you and you don't want to be seen.
That's very good.
So
Very
she
good.
kind of like wrinkles her brow and like looks back and forth and kind of just like rolls her eyes and disregards the statement. And she just kind of almost sarcastically murmurs as she walks back around the table to sit where she was, and she passes Lamont when doing so. She says, "If you're too distracted, I would recommend not looking."
He stepped away because someone knocked on our door.
Oh, no worries,
One
no
more.
worries.
Aiden, you don't happen to have a matching outfit for your new ward here, do you?
Not currently, but I can get matching outfits for everyone if that would be team outfit. Are we going to be like superheroes?
Oh, none for me, thank you. I was just thinking that it'd be nice to have two striking figures. And
I'd wear it if I have to.
oh, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. You've got a good one here, Aiden.
Team player. I'm telling you. High hopes for that one.
Oh my goodness. We'll wait for Steven to get back before we
Yeah.
regress, because I don't want him to miss too much of this banter, especially because it involves him. Poor thing. Oh my god, Anthony, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
You could hear the uncomfortable. It was so good. It was so good. Okay, I'm gonna finish taking notes. So we're just gonna go to the bar then?
Yes, I think that's the plan. Let's take a 3-minute, 5-minute break real quick. Refill coffee, use the restroom.
Okay.